In the quiet town of Eldridge, the Montgomery house stood as a grim reminder of the past. The grand Victorian mansion had been abandoned for decades, shrouded in mystery and whispers of malevolent spirits. Local legends spoke of the disappearance of the entire Montgomery family one stormy night, leaving only bloodstains and unanswered questions behind. Emma and Mark, a young couple new to town, were intrigued by the mansion's eerie history. They were both horror enthusiasts, always in search of a good scare, and decided to buy the property, envisioning it as their perfect haunted home. The first few weeks were uneventful. They cleaned and restored the dusty rooms, marveling at the intricate woodwork and antique fixtures. However, as they delved deeper into the house, they discovered an old, locked attic door. "Let's see what's inside," Emma said, her curiosity piqued. Mark nodded, and they found a rusty key hidden behind a loose brick in the fireplace. The key fit the lock perfectly, and with a creak, the attic door swung open. A cold draft greeted them, carrying the scent of decay and something far worse, fear. The attic was filled with old furniture, covered in white sheets, cobwebs hanging like lace. In the far corner, a large, ornate mirror stood, its glass smudged with grime. Emma felt an inexplicable pull towards it. She wiped away the dust and gasped as she saw her reflection, not alone, but with a dark figure standing behind her. She spun around, but no one was there. "Did you see that?" Emma whispered, her voice trembling. Mark shook his head. "See what?" Emma dismissed it as her imagination. But that night, the nightmares began. She dreamed of the Montgomery family, their faces twisted in terror as they were dragged into the mirror by a shadowy entity. Each night, the dreams grew more vivid and horrifying. One evening, as they sat in the living room, the temperature dropped suddenly. Their breath visible in the cold air, they heard a faint, echoing whisper from the attic. "Help us." Determined to uncover the truth, they returned to the attic, armed with flashlights and a sense of dread. The mirror seemed to beckon them. Mark, feeling brave, touched its surface, and his hand sank through the glass as if it were water. Panicking, he tried to pull back, but the mirror held him fast. Emma screamed and grabbed his other hand, but the force pulling him in was too strong. With a final desperate tug, Mark was yanked into the mirror, disappearing from sight. Emma fell back, horrified, staring at the now still and silent glass. Terrified and alone, Emma descended into a spiral of despair. She could hear Mark's voice, calling out to her from the mirror, begging for help. Determined to save him, she researched the house's history and discovered that the mirror was a gateway to another realm, a prison for tortured souls. Desperate, she sought the help of a local psychic, Madame Rowena, who agreed to perform a séance. They gathered in the attic, candles flickering in the darkness. Rowena chanted incantations, her voice rising in intensity. The mirror's surface began to ripple, and ghostly figures emerged, their eyes hollow and mournful. Suddenly, the dark figure from Emma's nightmares appeared. It was the entity that had cursed the Montgomery family and now sought to claim Emma's soul. With a scream, Rowena was thrown back, her body hitting the wall with a sickening thud. Emma stood her ground, tears streaming down her face. "Take me, but let Mark go." The entity paused, its shadowy form flickering. Slowly, it reached out, its hand passing through the mirror. Emma braced herself, but instead of being pulled in, she felt a wave of cold pass through her. The mirror shattered, and with it, the entity dissolved into the air. The attic fell silent, save for Emma's sobs. She looked at the broken shards, and there, among the pieces, was Mark, unconscious but alive. She dragged him from the attic, vowing never to return. The Montgomery house, now rid of its sinister inhabitant, was once again abandoned. Emma and Mark left Eldridge, never looking back. But sometimes, in the dead of night, Emma could still hear the whispers of the lost souls, their cries for help, echoing in her dreams.